The blast, which struck Beirut on August the 4th, 2020, had a magnitude of a 3.5 earthquake on the Richter scale. It was the largest non-nuclear blast in history. And the incident was triggered by the detonation of approximately 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate. That at the time, it wasn't clear whether it was stored in a boat that was anchored in the port or in a warehouse at the port. What was clear was that there was an initial fire in a fireworks factory, and the chemical, the ammonium nitrate, had been stored next to that since 2014 after being offloaded from the ship MV Rosas, which was considered unseaworthy. We've now got another vessel which is considered, well, potentially unseaworthy. And this explosion resulted in 200 deaths, thousands of injuries, and extensive damage to the city. Let's have a look at that explosion now. And I warn you, this is worrying footage. Ammonium nitrate is a chemical compound widely used as a fertilizer and in explosives for mining. While it's relatively stable under normal conditions, it can become hazardous under certain conditions. It requires an initiating high explosive, such as a detonator, to explode, or it can undergo detonation under extreme heat or pressure. When subjected to a fire or other strong heat sources, it can decompose, releasing gases that increase pressure, potentially leading to an explosion. It was the MV Rosas, captained by Boris Prokoshev, that brought the ammonium nitrate to Beirut, and he says in 2013 to 2014, if he knew that the ship contained such explosive chemicals, he wouldn't have boarded the ship. He wouldn't have taken it into the port. The Beirut blast was reportedly initiated by a fire in the adjacent warehouse that stored the fireworks, which then spread to the ammonium nitrate. There was a ship which was going through the Red Sea, and the Houthis claimed to have targeted this ship. And unlike Beirut, where the material, this ship was carrying ammonium nitrate, and unlike in Beirut, where the material was improperly stored for years, ships like this, and like the Ruby, which is off Margate, are specifically designed to transport hazardous materials safely. The concern here is more about the potential environmental impact if the ship were to break apart, its cargo were released, or indeed if it were to be hit by some sort of detonator, and that would cause an explosion. Otherwise, it presents a serious environmental hazard. Ammonium nitrate saturated with seawater is less prone to detonation and risks more of a pollution threat than an immediate explosive hazard, but it does nevertheless risk a pollution threat. The SS Richard Montgomery, which is near the Ruby, and so therefore, in terms of proximity, it's a danger, is a World War II Liberty ship sunk off the coast of England, and it carries about 1,400 tons of unexploded munitions. The ship has been a point of concern due to the potential for a massive explosion should the munitions be destabilized again. This is about something that sparks off the problem rather than this problem simply exploding. It is monitored regularly, and the likelihood of a catastrophic event is considered low under current conditions. The public and the media response to these incidents involving potentially hazardous materials often reflects a lack of understanding of the specific risks. Ammonium nitrate, while dangerous under certain conditions, does not automatically pose a threat without an initiating event like a fire or extreme shock. So the coverage of these incidents, as for example on LBC and on various radio stations and minor news stations, can exaggerate the immediate risk without clarifying the actual circumstances that would lead to a disaster, but those circumstances certainly exist, particularly because of the ramped-up rhetoric of Putin. The Beirut blast was a result of severe mismanagement, and whether the ammonium nitrate, as I mistakenly said, was stored in a ship in the port. In fact, I knew full well that it was stored in a warehouse, but it was uncertain at the time in the reports, and it doesn't really change the impact of the story. This is about dangerous substances being stored together with explosive substances, fireworks, detonators. So the Ruby, in a sense, is the ship itself is self-contained and is not in itself a danger. But near the SS Montgomery, which is equally not in itself a significant danger, but near predatory submarines, again, not in themselves of significant. But we've got three things in proximity, along with a ferocious dictator in Moscow who may or may not be alive. Again, in itself, not itself dangerous, and he may be dead. But put these things together, the conjunction of these things is very worrying, I think. And the SS Montgomery remains a historical example of a potential but a controlled risk. The Ruby remains an example of a potential but a controlled risk. The submarines, as I say, put them all together. And that is why I think this is a subject of concern. I think I'll finish with another view of
fireworks going
of
off
the Beirut blast
before the massive explosion.